He's unpredictable. He's relentless. He's fearless. He's smart. He's a jerk. Oh man, what a jerk. How would you describe Kirk Minihane? Combustible, unpredictable, testy, obnoxious, selfish, polarizing. Pompous.
Enough about me. Let's get to the show.
It's Kirk Minihane's Enough About Me.
So I read your story on Monday or Tuesday that all guns should be gone. And we live in a magical world and we'll all dance around. And the gun-free world.
I was definitely talking about dancing,
And I do wonder sometimes when I read your stuff, when I talk to you, is a part of you that just says, because there's a part of me that when I do the show every day that I don't want to really talk about sports that much.
Oh, hell yeah.
There's a part of you that says, why don't I just become a political columnist, or why don't I just become an op-ed guy and just do, shit like that and not write about, Eduardo Rodriguez. I mean, do you care as much about Eduardo Rodriguez as you do about the gun issue?
Yeah, so that's an interesting thing. First of all, no, I don't want to leave sports writing to become an op-ed writer. Yeah. I like to sort of like you guys do on your show, dip my toes every once in a while. Right. Because writing the same stuff, like I covered my first Red Sox game in 96. So it's 20 years. I was at the Middlesex News. It wasn't even the Metro West Daily News yet. It was the Middlesex News.
Go ahead.
And I saw the White Sox pound Tom Gordon. I think that was my first game. But anyway, So in 20 years, you cover this stuff. And for the first, even 10 years, every once in a while you write a story. And it's like, oh, this is amazing. Like the first time you write about Red Sox Yankees, oh, this is the best. Right. The first time you write about Pedro striking out 17, this is amazing. Then the more you do it, it becomes harder and harder to find those kind of stories.
Enjoy it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
You enjoy covering. You don't cover the Red Sox necessarily.
I kind of do, but I'm sort of in the middle.
I don't know what your job. What is your title here?
I think it's columnist.
But you're not. But you're sort of on the beat for the Red Sox. Not really.
Yeah. I'm half on the beat with Bradford.
I think it's. I got to be honest. I've done it 8 times in my life. Covering the Red Sox day in, day out, to me sounds like the most boring fucking assignment ever given to a human being.
I actually like it. I like
it. You stand there in the clubhouse like an asshole, really. But
depends on who you are.
Well, I did.
Yeah.
You just kind of stand there and you watch the players watch TV for a while. Yeah. Then you talk to them. Generally, they suck in terms of quotes. Then you have to go and watch a 4-hour game. Then go and do the same fucking thing again after the game.
Yeah.
And then write about a game that has the shelf life of a fart.
Yes. You might be oversimplifying it just a little bit in terms of going in there. But there's an element to that. There's an element to that. Yeah. And so my long-winded way of answering your first question was to say, there's not a lot that I haven't seen as far as covering baseball goes, and that's why I like to dip my toes into the Tom Brady, Donald Trump stuff, to the gun stuff.
You get a reaction, which you like.
Yeah, the reaction is great. Get a reaction from you guys. That helps, you know.
That's absolutely your job.
Yeah,
you're not going to get that reaction generally, almost never writing about the Red Sox.
No,
just basic core sporty stuff.
Yeah, unless you're doing beer in the clubhouse or something like that.
Right, but that's not even that, right?
Yeah.
That's more of
so there's the one side that likes to get the reaction to whatever we were just talking about, the political stuff. On the other side, I still actually do take satisfaction in a well-written story, So there is the personal satisfaction in that, even though the way our business has changed and the clickocracy, I'm going to steal that line from Chris Gasper, but it's a good one. We just, if I can mention his name here,
that's
totally
okay. There are no rules here.
Yeah. So, so the idea, we're measured by clicks now, which changes what gets read.
I like Gasper, but that's sort of a snobby, globish asshole thing to say. A little bit.
It is a little bit, but it's also true. It's reality now. Reality is.
It makes it sound like it's a bad thing. I'm not always sure it is either. You wrote that gun thing for clicks.
Yes. Yeah, so I'm serving two masters. So this is what I'm saying. I serve two masters. I serve the click side, which I have to be aware of and cognizant of. And then on the other side, there's I'm going to write this for me, like something I like. Like I wrote a feature on other guys in the bullpen talking about what it's like to play catch with Craig Kimbrell.
Right.
That is not going to get a ton of clicks,
but
I liked it. You didn't read it. You missed it. It was a good story. It might have been on a weekend, so it kind of got lost. But regardless,
is there a point
you can do both.
Is there even a point anymore if you're a writer for a website? I used to be one.
Yeah.
Where you even write a story for the weekend? Is that even worth it?
There's kind of no point. I wrote what I thought was a good column on Muhammad Ali.
I read that. It was a good column.
It was about people of our generation and never really quite being able to wrap our heads around all the lip service paid to how he was the greatest, because all we saw was this shuffling shell of a man.
Saturday.
And I posted it Saturday, and it died, and no one saw it. And I was kind of like, why did I even bother?
You've been doing this now for Like a year and a half?
Yeah. January 1st I started, basically.
Do you like it more or less than writing for a traditional daily newspaper?
More. Definitely more. Because I would never be writing the gun thing. I would never be writing half the things I write here. I would be pigeonholed as a Red Sox guy, which was fine. I mean, I enjoyed doing that at the Herald for years, but that's all I would be doing.
So let's play the scenario. We were at the Herald. Where Hank was your last sports ed, right? Hank Carlin.
Yeah. Well, Sean Leahy came in for my last 3 months.
Right?
Yeah.
So let's say you were super passionate about this story, the gun story, and you said to these guys, listen, I want to write this thing. They would say no?
No, they probably would say yes, and then I would have burned that card for the rest of the year.
Oh, you only get one to play.
Yeah, you get like one of those. Right. I think like one time they had me write a column about the World Cup because the World Cup was in swing, and we didn't really have a soccer writer, so write a column about the World Cup. I like the World Cup, so I did that. But that stuff was few and far between.
So
because we had 2 columnists,
right?
Yeah,
and Rob lets you write whatever you want, right?
Whatever I want.
When I was a columnist there before you for a couple of years, you're a much better writer than I am. Rob would.
That's not true.
It's actually true. But Rob would it was never a conversation. I would just write it, and sometimes I would say, "What do you think of this?" But it was never, "What do you think of this?" in terms of can I write it?
Yeah.
It was just he was always just write whatever you want.
Yeah, I mean the gun thing was a good example. I was supposed to write about Kevin Love. I told Rob I was going to write about Kevin Love.
That was the lead of your story.
Yeah, and as the night's going on, I'm like, why am I writing about Kevin Love?
Right?
It's fake. Yeah, exactly. I wrote about it the next day.
Right.
But I wasn't feeling it that night, and I knew that you guys were going to be blasting that out the next morning as far as reacting to the Orlando stuff. So I was like, well, this fits. This fits what we do as a station.
Do you even contact him, or do you just write it?
I just wrote it. That one I did. I think we're on the same page. There's been a couple things. I'm trying to think if there's anything that I had to run by him.
There is for me in terms of when I wrote about Jenny.
Yeah,
Dell,
if you're going after somebody, that's
if it's
a little
media
different.
thing, which I do a lot of. That I did a lot of. That was always kind of tricky. But I'll be honest, he never once said no to me ever, not once, ever. And you said, okay, right, it's your story as long as it's not bullshit, right?
Yeah, I think a couple times I've run ideas by him, and he'll say no because it's boring, which is fair.
That's fair. That's fine.
He's like, I don't think that's gonna have any legs. Like, okay, that's
right.
That's his job. So, but in terms of no, that you stay away from that. No, there's been none of that.
So you will specifically think, what kind of reaction will this get on talk shows the next day or on Twitter the next day before you write something?
A little bit, but I have to. I won't fake it. That's the one thing. I will not fake it. So I won't do that. Like the gun thing, I actually feel strongly about. The Brady Trump thing, I felt strongly about. Right. That's why I wrote it. I generally, and I'm not saying this to kiss ass, but I generally will have your show in mind.
Right.
For some, and you can tell. I mean, you can tell. There are things that I've written where I'm like, okay, set the alarm because I'm going to have to get up early because I know they're going to call me.
Right.
And I'm fine with that. I think that's good for the website. That's good for us.
I know it's been a while since you covered Brady on a day in, day out basis.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he's different now than he was 8, 9 years ago, 10 years ago? I can't. We have him on every week.
Yeah.
And I've not been able to, other than the one time with Guerrero. I've never really been able to get past whatever the surface is.
Yeah, I mean, I will not even pretend that I knew Tom Brady whatsoever.
Well, but you were there, and
no, but I'm saying in terms of
I
covering him, like David Ortiz, for instance.
Right.
David Ortiz is a much more accessible superstar. He just always has been. It's his personality.
Right.
Brady, because of the position, because of the success, because of the family, because of just everything about Brady, he's always been sort of up on a mountain where if you peek through the clouds, if you're Tom Curran, you might be able to get an audience. But otherwise, you're not really getting to know him. So I have no perspective at all on what he's like now because I haven't been around him. But I think from afar, it's pretty obvious with all the stuff that he's had to deal with the last 2 years, from Deflategate forward, I don't see how that wouldn't change. But I know talking to guys who have covered the team, they said it's totally different.
Way different, they say.
They say you used to be like when I covered the team, every once in a while I might be able to grab him for a second in his locker.
Now.
And it sounds like that's gone.
Says, he says, it's just gone.
Yeah.
The thing with Ortiz is, and I've been in the locker room enough to know, and I've seen him with Rob, enough to know that he's friendly with you guys. And I do think that colors your coverage of Ortiz. I think
I agree with that.
You or Ian or Rob or Abraham or these guys, you can tell you actually like Ortiz. You give him a pass. Times maybe we wouldn't give another guy a pass.
I don't know about that. Give me an example.
I think it's fair to at least begin to have the conversation at this age, given the numbers that he's having.
Yeah.
There has to be some natural human suspicion in the air, right?
Yeah.
But if you bring it up conversationally with a lot of these beat guys, they look at you like you're out of your like.
See, that's a tough. I mean, I agree with you. Like,
I mean,
you'd be a Pollyanna to say like, oh no, I couldn't even consider that as a possibility.
What he's doing,
but what are you supposed to do? Like, are you supposed to go antagonize him?
Shaughnessy did it.
He did.
Yeah, didn't you think that was a good column?
That was a good column.
You should. It's been 3 years. You should do that column now. Go up to him and have the conversation.
Yeah.
I'll let you write that. You can write that. It's not like Rob's writing it. Just a gut feeling.
Yeah.
But I think you guys, I think Ortiz kind of plays slap ass with you guys a little bit, and you like it.
I wouldn't frame it that way. That makes it sound too much like jock sniffing.
Yeah,
I do have a fondness for Ortiz, but I've been hard on him in the past. I was hard on him over the steroid thing way back when, at the Herald. And I mean, to this day, as much as I like Ortiz, I've never really bought the whole
vitamins or
whatever. But even more to the point, I mean, I get why he's had to say what he's had to say because, I mean, that's just self-preservation. That's what guys do. I think Brady's doing the same thing now with the whole deflate thing. So I understand that impulse, but I also think it's fair to look at the era in which we're talking about, a guy who's just been released, who needs to do whatever he can to hang on in baseball at a time when it was the Wild West. I don't necessarily even fault a guy for going down that road.
It's different now, though. I mean, if he got popped again now.
Totally different now. Totally different. This was my thing on Manny, why I say Manny's not a Hall of Famer and Ortiz is. Because Manny got popped when, it was back, when I'm more willing to give people a pass. I voted for Bonds, I voted for Clemens, all that stuff. Manny got busted again. Right. And then again, once you do it again, you got your one mulligan. And if you fuck up after that, no, you're done.
What do you think of you're a columnist. I'm going to say, how many actual columnists would you say there are in town now? 7 or 8?
Borges, Buck, Gasper,
Dan,
Shaughnessy, obviously. There's
not that many.
What? Somebody came up to me yesterday and they're like, "Oh, the morning show was singing your praises." Oh yeah, yeah. They said you're one of the 3 or 4 best columnists in town. I was like, yeah, what out of 6?
but I do. But I guess my point is, so you're about my age, right?
Yeah. A little older.
Shaughnessy is older. Ron is older. Buck is older. I talk about this all the time. I'm wondering what it's going to be like in 15 years or 20 years. Are there going to be any assholes left?
Well, here's the thing.
The young generation seems asshole. It's not like an old man. I'm fucking 41.
I know.
But
same
the younger
here.
guys seem to be. Pro team is not the right phraseology, but there seems to be sort of
a little bit of that.
We're kind of in this together.
Yeah.
Us against the world sort of thing, and I don't think that's a good thing.
No, I think it's a terrible thing. And when I look around, I first of all, I grew up reading Ryan, Shaughnessy, Borges, Will McDonough, all these people, and they were hard edge. Gammons wasn't, but he was Mr. Information, whatever. Different. But the columnists brought it.
Right. Although I would say Ryan was not, Ryan was more, not pro team.
He was just a great columnist. He was a great columnist.
But he wasn't a shit stirrer.
Not really.
Shaughnessy and Ron were shit stirrers.
Yes.
Particularly Shaughnessy.
Yeah, both of them. And they still are. And I think it's interesting that there is no one. I wouldn't pretend for a second to be half as tough as those guys or a quarter as tough as those guys. They will take on anyone at any time.
Well, why won't you do that? Why?
I mean, I don't. But it's not that I won't. It's that I don't have it in me like they do.
Yeah.
This is an honest self-assessment. Yes, I've gone after people, but you have to have a real, fortitude. You almost have to enjoy it. And I don't necessarily enjoy it. I like they do. But then I look at the writers coming up behind me.
Yes.
And I look around and I say, okay, who is going to be the guy out of this group who is going to be the guy who throws bombs, because Shaughnessy still brings it better than anybody. I know
Absolutely.
It's such a cliche to be like, oh, Shank, and he mails it in, and curly-haired boyfriend, and this and that. It's no, he brings it. He and Borges are the 2 columnists in this town who still can absolutely bring it, more so than anybody else. And I don't know who that next generation is going to be, but I look at the young writers, and I don't see that same kind of I think now the writers are more into the number side of things and the analytics and all of that kind of stuff. And it's just, I don't know. I don't know if social media has changed it, where you get this instant feedback.
Well, the problem is now is, is if you are disliked by certain groups or whatever on Twitter, you're going to get your dick kicked in all the time.
Oh, yeah.
The question is, can you take it?
Yep.
And some of these guys, I think, don't even want to deal with it. They like writing stuff that I'm sure is fine, not really going to get read.
Yeah.
But they circle around themselves and give themselves attaboys. That seems to me to be their life cycle. And I don't know, I can't name you somebody under 30 who I feel like I have to read in the city every time they write something. And there are people that age who are writing, I'm sure. I can't think of am I missing somebody?
Yeah, in terms of a hard edge opinion,
just
I mean,
an opinion guy.
Like,
now I understand opinion jobs aren't usually handed out to people in their 20s. There's a reason for that.
But you can see who's headed that way.
Yeah, so now it's anybody headed that way.
I think Evan Drellick at the Herald could be. He's definitely got a little bit of an edge to him. He's the guy who wrote like the Pablo Traynor stuff, and I think he just being around him, I think he could be that kind of guy if he wanted to be. I don't know if he does.
I don't like the other guy at the Herald, the younger
Jason.
guy.
Oh, I like Jason.
But I don't like. But I mean, he to me epitomizes what I don't like.
He's still he's finding his way. I don't. I mean,
he's rooting for the team. I feel like he's rooting for the team.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. I don't see him that way.
No?
I don't think Jason's out to rip people or anything like
that's
that.
That's his job,
but,
I guess. Right?
Yeah, I mean, he's the beat guy. I don't have a problem with Jason.
Is the Herald going to be around in 5 years?
I hope so.
I know that, so do I. But
I think it will be. I think it will be. It's a Survivor. The Herald's a Survivor.
The website sucks.
Yes, it does.
People aren't buying newspapers as much anymore. I think we're the last. I think we're the last age.
Yep.
Like
I subscribed.
Early 40s down. Once you get in the 30s, I think it's over.
Yeah.
So if the website stinks and the readers are getting older and older and retiring, either losing readers, I'm sure every single day, how do they survive? I think the Globe has done a better job digitally.
Well, the Herald's trying Herald Radio. They're trying.
But that's not working.
They're trying.
I know.
At least they're
it
trying.
is. I know it is. But I'm saying. But I appreciate that they're trying. But how are they going to survive?
That is a great question.
It doesn't feel essential to me right now. And they should be what they have not allowed themselves to do is be a tabloid.
I totally agree with that.
Jerry and I were sitting there in the morning before the show starts, and something crazy happens. Somebody at the Globe fucks up, or something happens with Trump, or something happens with Hillary, and the front page is a picture of a fucking...
Yeah, that used to frustrate me when I worked there. I'll give you a good example when a couple of... Well, here's one. So when I was working there and Ortiz comes out, this is our fucking city, Yeah. And I called Hank. I think that was a Saturday, right? That was a Saturday game, so it would have been the Sunday paper. I called Hank. I said... Call the news desk. Tell them our front page has to be, this is our fucking city. Right. No bleep.
Oh, the fuck itself?
Put the actual word on the front page. Wrap it if you have to with a warning for children.
Right.
We would have sold
10
million copies of that paper if we could have printed them. And Hank ran it dutifully. He ran it up the flagpole and was like, oh, no, we can't do that. We can't do that. It's like, take a chance. Another example, when the Red Sox were collapsing. So we did in 2011. We did the whole... best team ever. That was our ridiculous special section, which was, it did what we wanted it to do.
It was a tabloid move.
It was a tabloid move. It was fine.
Great.
So as they collapse at some point during the season, and Shaughnessy, God bless him, he would, when the team was losing, he would trot out, the Herald called this the best team ever, every day, which was fine. And then when they won, which was for the majority of the middle of the season, never got mentioned. But, I would say to Hank and Mark Murphy, the assistant editor, let's be in on the joke. Let's embrace this. And so as the season wore on and they were collapsing, I'm like, we need to do a front page of worst team ever. Mm-hmm. Let's at least own it. And so we were waiting for the right time, and they totally agreed. And so we get to the last game of the season, and we're going to make it our back page, worst team ever, because they've blown it. It's perfect.
Right.
And the news side takes it, and instead of just doing worst team ever, talk about bad tabloid instincts, they twisted it around with this long, subheadline on the top that said something like, so I guess it turns out, in fact, they weren't the best team ever. It's like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
But that's what I mean. That's why, and I don't want the Herald to go away. We need two papers in this town. We need I want the Herald to be the New York Post.
Yeah,
that's
so
what
do
I want. That's it.
Taking on the gun lobby, all that stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
The Daily News and the Post have both gone in. The Daily News has gone one way, the Post has gone the other, and it's a war every single day.
Yep.
The inside track is not the inside track anymore.
Yeah, because they got rid of half.
They got rid of Gail, right?
Exactly. No, Laura.
Sorry,
Laura has a bakery
She's
now.
doing a bakery now.
Yeah.
Instead, they have this girl, Erica something, who does fashion tips.
Yeah.
I want fucking... the New York Post has 6 or 7 different gossip columnists. People want to read gossip. People want to read, media shit. Why is there not a media critic at the Herald?
Yeah, that's a
Media
great
stuff
question.
Gets read like I could tell you, it gets read like
Sure.
crazy.
Sure. I mean, I know
Why
that. I
not?
wrote 2 stories about Orsillo. I wrote a story about Remy earlier this year. You write about that stuff, it gets read.
Absolutely. I don't. Where's the who is fucking this up?
It's a great question.
Is it Shaka? Is it Leahy? Who's screwing this up? I'm worried.
Yeah, it's not Leahy. It's not the guys in sports. I mean, I think all that stuff happens above them.
And there's the Herald, and at some point the Herald, and I talk about this station. At some point there has to be some injection of new blood too. Somebody younger has to go in there.
I totally agree.
Somebody has to start moving the conversation again.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I honestly look at that.
Asper.
I look at that as a fair criticism of our place. Like,
What, right here?
yeah, there
Absolutely.
are days where I am the youngest person we have on the air. Like
I'm the youngest person on the air every day here.
Yeah.
I'm 41.
That's-
Think about it.
that's
John
ridiculous.
is in his 60s. Jerry's in his 50s. These guys, Forey's probably a little older than me, the same. Glenn, Dale, Holly, Thornton's older than I am. Mikey's,
Yeah.
But here's what I'd say. So I have this conversation all the time, right, with Kevin Graham, with other people.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say this, and they'll say, okay, who you got?
You got the Barstool idiots,
Okay, but
I mean, if you want to give them a try,
you can give them a weekend.
Thornton has helped that show in the afternoon.
You can give them a weekend try, maybe, but the Barstool guys, there's
Give them, but that's it.
I agree.
Give them a weekend
I would
try.
have done that too, but
Yeah.
but we're talking about every day in, day
Yeah,
out.
but you have to build up to that. So I would like DJ and Pete Blackburn and Jared Carabas or whatever.
Those guys aren't
these.
those guys aren't going to be good in the radio every day. They're just not. They're not. You know why?
How do you know that?
Because
Give
they're-
them a shot on the
because they're-
weekend.
because they're pro team.
DJ's not pro team.
He's not, but he's not a born cynic.
Oh, I think
He's not a born
DJ's
cynic, and
DJ's
got
Bruins
sort of-
coverage
and he's
is pretty pointed. I
haven't
mean, he
read it.
goes after Neely and
But he's
what's
got,
his
he's
name
also got
all the time.
There's also too young too, though. There's a balance. Like you can't. He's too young to be on the radio right now. Every day, day
Weekend.
in, day out.
This
That's
is
fine.
this is what I'm talking about.
That's fine.
Put these guys
Do
like.
every- that's-
How did you start? Saturdays.
On the weekends,
right?
Yeah.
So
Yes.
Jerry Thornton, same thing. Like we should be putting those guys on the weekends.
Well, the other problem now is that you had a great training ground in the Big Show. You really did. I mean, think of all the guys who got their swings on the Big Show.
Yeah, that's a
Talk
good
about
point.
Malcolm Gladwell. I mean, all these guys, Lou,
Yep.
Jerry, Holly,
Hey, Felger and
Zolak,
Maz for that
Felger,
point. Yeah.
Maz. You can name him. You can name 5 million
Yeah.
people.
McAdam.
McAdam. Who did it? Dan, who did it for Jackie. They did it forever. That's
Yeah.
where you learned how to do it.
Yeah.
I learned how to do it doing weekend shows by myself in snowstorms when nobody was listening. You had no calls and you're by yourself for 4 hours. That's true. You have to learn how to do it. And the weekends I'm not really sure the weekends to me. I know Craig and Larry are on. I think you're on a regular show, right?
Yeah, Saturday.
But I don't know. Like I'll put it on at like 3 o'clock. I don't know who the fuck is going to be on.
Yeah.
And that's a little confusing to me. I agree. And they should take as many chances as they can.
Yeah, I hear like Schilling wants to do a show or whatever.
Well,
I mean, I don't know how committed he would be
that's-
ultimately,
right,
but you know what? Like Schilling would say shit that we would talk about. He
Absolutely.
would say stuff on Saturdays that you guys would talk about on
question.
Tuesday.
Now here's the problem, and I have to deal with this all the time. Is managers going to say, "Well, we're a little worried about putting Schilling on because he might say this, he might piss off this advertiser or this advertiser, or they might." This happens with me all the time. They're going to do this or that. There's fear, which I like, which I say
Yeah.
fucking embrace it, but it's easy for me to say that.
Yeah.
You have to look at it from manager's point of view, which is.
Yeah, but then I don't know, but if you don't take chances, then what
I
do you
agree.
get?
I totally agree with you. But I think they're in this business. Management plays defense.
Yeah.
I think they say, well, let's trot this guy out. He's not going to get us in any trouble. The ratings might not be as good as they might be if we put this guy on, but we're not going to get any trouble. We've had people say that to us that if our show's ratings were lower than they are, but we didn't give them as much trouble as we do, they'd be better off.
Yeah, see, I can't
Which
embrace
might
that.
be true. And
Yeah.
these are people who do this for a living, but you say, well, so you want us to be worse, but it'd be easier to sell because we won't be as inflammatory.
Yeah, offensive.
Do you like doing radio?
I'll always be a writer first. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just the bottom line. I'm more of a writer. I did. That's what I've done my whole career.
Yeah.
That's what I got hired here to do.
But do you enjoy it? Do you look forward to going in the weekend?
Yeah, I
or
like doing it. I mean, I can't say that I don't feel I'm particularly good at
I think
it,
you've
but
gotten a lot better at it, honestly.
Yeah.
I think you sound more comfortable.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I would hope that I get somewhat better at it. I mean, I do it every weekend.
Isn't it about who you work with, too, though? I mean, you're on with Butch most of the time.
I'm
right?
on with Butch, yep.
Yeah.
And I was on with Dickerson before that. I've
Right.
done Giardi a little bit, Bradford, all those different guys. Yeah, it helps. I mean, Butch and I have a much better rapport now, I think, than when we
Yeah.
started, just because we had never worked together, and it's hard. You need to learn like the other guy's pace and what they want to talk about and all that kind of stuff.
Is it something you could see yourself doing every day, ever down the line, or no?
No. I'll be honest, no.
No?
Management probably doesn't want to hear that, but no.
You wouldn't want to?
Every day? No. I don't know how you guys do it, honestly.
You mail it in half the time. I mean, that's just the truth. I mean, there are some days where there's, like today, where when you're getting, and you've written about it, but after a while, when you get so many calls in a row about a guy telling you why a certain gun is this or isn't that, you're just like, I don't give a fuck. Like,
this was like the PSI stuff. Like
that's exactly right.
Patriots.
Essentially,
like,
that's the.
You can't tell me anything I haven't already heard.
Right, and you might be lying to me, or you might be 100% right. I truthfully don't give a fuck why you use the gun or why you don't use the gun, how many guns you have.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter to me. So when you take 47 phone calls in a row like that, I'm done. I'm checking my phone. I'm checking Twitter. I'm reading something.
I've been there.
I mean, you say, all right, I'm fucking mailing. I mean, there are days where I totally and completely mail it in.
Yeah.
But I think that must be true for everybody. I'm sure there are columns where you're like, all right, fuck it.
You know who doesn't mail it in is Bradford. It's absurd.
What, on the radio?
No, when in terms of the writing stuff.
What do you mean?
Because he never he doesn't settle for the obvious story, which
That's true.
I will do.
That's true. That is true. That is true. Well, one thing about Rob is, he never stops.
He's going to kill himself.
Yes.
That's part of the problem.
He's been
but
hospedalized like several times. He was in Toronto.
No,
a couple
but
of years ago.
he
His
never
deathbed.
ever stops.
I can't. And you want to, when I talk to him, I want to say he'll call me and he'll bitch about the same stuff he's been bitching about for 8 years, and I want to say to him, this is the definition of insanity. Let's move on. Like it's not. There's always going to be a website radio issue a little bit. I think it's much better than it was before.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
Yeah,
but now I'm on the other side. That's the other thing. So now I'm a radio guy. But let's just don't stop banging your head against the wall. It's you fought the fight. You've kind of won. You've done very well for yourself. Let's move on.
Yeah, he'll never stop fighting. That's not in his DNA.
And he works like a fucking dog. I don't know what he's going to do. Like eventually he's not going to have this job anymore. I think he'll either burn out or they'll do something else. He'll say it's time for a change, whether it's 2 years from now. Is he just going to go back and be a beat writer again? I can't imagine that.
No. He's too invested. I wouldn't actually bet on him ever withdrawing from this.
Mentally, he's going to actually collapse, I think.
That's a separate issue.
It might help he's in better shape.
Oh, I'm not one to talk.
Well, but you're not. Yeah, but you seem kind of laid back, though.
I am laid back.
You're not a screamer?
No.
Never?
No, I mean a couple times. There was one time where Francona got pissed about something I had written.
Yeah.
And that got heated, but in general I'm not. If someone gets mad at me, and I've had plenty of guys over the year, Corey Dillon or AJ Brzezinski, whoever, guys get pissed at you, I don't generally raise my voice louder than it is now.
He was during the...
That was early in his one season here. I had written a pretty tough column.
I remember.
Yeah. And so I went in there the next day, and you never really know how to handle those things. I know Tony and Shaughnessy had told me early in my career, and it was good advice, make yourself available. If you don't need to antagonize them, hey, did you see what I wrote? But you got to at least be front and center, so if they want you, they can do it. So I go in there, and I don't know if he's seen it. I can't tell. And he's just sitting there, and he's not really doing anything, and he looks up, and he sees me, and he makes no reaction. I'm like, oh, maybe he's just been ripped a lot. He hadn't seen it. So after the game was a very different story. He was pissed. Oh, he just, pulled me out into the hallway, screamed and yelled a little bit, told me I didn't know what I was talking about. Believe me, I knew what I was talking about on that particular story.
Yes.
And, that was the end of it. But, yeah that stuff happens. Probably more than you'd think. And this was when the Pablo thing happened in spring training.
Right.
And you guys, I think this was a fair criticism. How could you not write this? And I really went back and forth on it when it happened because I've been the guy on the other side of that. I've been Chris Smith. I've been the guy getting yelled at. And I would have been pissed if people made me the story in that case, because I feel professionally the players deserve the right to be able to get pissed at us without it appearing in the paper. However, Pablo slamming a bat, and with all the stuff going on around him, if Brock Holt had done that, I wouldn't have felt bad about not writing it at all.
Yeah.
But because it was Pablo and because it was he was a story at that point, I did feel maybe I could have handled that differently.
It's also 2016. I think in 2016 you have to write that. Maybe in 1998 you don't write it. I just feel like the world is with Twitter now. We know what's going on. Guys are tweeting about it. So right there, so we know what's going on. So it's already out there. You're not.
Yeah. Well, we all wrote about it once it got out there.
Right. When was the last time you were at Gillette? Telling me for like a monster truck show or anything.
No. I haven't been at Gillette since the last game I covered in '08.
Are you not allowed there?
I don't know if that's the case. You could ask Rob that, but I've not been sent there, so.
You have no idea? Because I have heard, not from Rob, I've heard that they don't want you in the building
Well,
anymore.
I think that's pretty safe to assume.
No, I know that.
Yeah, but them not wanting me there, and them not allowing me there are two different things. I'm certain I'm not wanted there.
Well, like you were at the Super Bowl in Phoenix.
I was at the Super Bowl,
But you didn't cover the Patriots.
I stayed on the Seattle side.
Was that a WEI decision or a Patriots NFL
That
decision?
was a WEI decision. Oh, the NFL, I don't think
the
Patriots or the NFL could keep me from going down there to cover stuff.
You don't think the Crafts could?
I don't think so.
You don't think they would make a stink of it? No.
I think they would make a stink. Right. I'm saying I don't think they have the authority to say this isn't like Trump saying no Washington Post.
Right.
But yeah, they don't want me there. I don't necessarily blame them. And
well, how do you feel about it with
8.5
years later? What is anything? You feel any different now than you did whatever 2 weeks after it happened?
Well, 2 weeks after it happened was yeah. No, I mean, here's the thing with that. So 8 years later, there have been some misconceptions about that. Okay. Like the two things that bothered me, like I will have to wear that for the rest of my life. I got that scarlet letter, and I'm like, I made that bed. That's mine and mine alone.
Like you fucked up, or do you feel like?
Oh yeah, I fucked up.
Do you feel like you had 95% of the story right?
Not that much.
No.
I mean, there was a time where I definitely clung to that, like. Someday the truth will come out. But as the years have passed, I've been like, you know what? You just got to own up to it.
When did you know during the process that you had fucked up?
That's tough to say. I mean, probably, I don't know. I mean, first of all, you're worried about things anytime you write anything like that.
Well, sure. But did you feel when you had it that you were?
Oh yeah. Oh, I had no doubt. No, believe me, if it were one where I was like,
you would have backed off.
Yeah, I definitely would have backed off.
Right.
So after it came out, there was a lot like, oh, he made this up to make a name for himself. It's like, what kind of name would I be making for myself? Like that, I am not in that business whatsoever.
Sure.
So that, and then the whole thing like, oh, he has no integrity. It's like, well, listen, I fucked up, and I got to live with that for the rest of my life. And believe me, there is not a single day that has gone by in 8.5 years where I have not thought about that and like, how did I get here? How did I allow this to happen?
Well, how did you allow it to happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think as I wrote in the front page thing for the Herald after it happened, I allowed the fact that I was afraid I was going to get beaten on the story. I allowed that to override you're positive, but let's leave nothing to chance kind of thing, because this is something that I had heard about months earlier and had worked on, for months. And even though I felt I had it, it's like there can be no doubt, and it's like in retrospect, if without seeing it, like I should have been on a story of that magnitude. It was like, if I don't see it, if you can't see it, you can't write it.
Was there anybody in the process who said, no, this doesn't feel right? Or was everybody involved said, no, this is good, go with it?
No, they were definitely along the way. It was like, well, you need more, need more.
Right.
And so, but that's all on me. And, and since it's happened, so you asked me, how does it feel differently? I mean, the only thing that feels different is it's sort of like a dull ache now, as opposed to that like brain frying, oh my God, what have I done?
Did you think you were going to get fired?
I certainly, I thought it was a possibility.
No? I don't remember.
No, I mean, I took some time off, like when the dust finally settled, but I don't think I was never officially suspended. But I mean, how could you not worry? It's like,
sure, no,
that's not a small fuck up,
Right. And you and so now, I'm guessing, I don't know this, but I just give, like, if I'll tweet something that you write out, if I'll retweet something you tweet out, or if I tweet out a column that you write, or respond to you, it'll be, if I get 20 responses from it on Twitter, 15 of them are, fuck him.
Oh,
He
yeah.
hates the Patriots. I don't trust this fucking guy. How
Oh,
does he
yeah.
get a job?
I mean,
How does he I know, but
yeah.
how do you, intellectualize that? I mean,
It becomes, I mean, you know how it is.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
you get ripped every day for
All the
this
time.
or that. You just eventually you sort of put up a wall, and it's like, it's just words. And the thing, too, is most of the time it's the exact same thing. Like,
right.
it'll be 200 different people, but they're writing the exact same thing.
Right.
So it's like, whatever. There was one interaction I had on Twitter where somebody like complimented something I had written. It was clearly a younger tweeter, like
Right.
maybe a teenager.
Right.
Complimented something I had written probably about Brady, like
Yeah.
during the whole Deflategate thing. It must have
Yeah.
been a more pro-Brady slanted column. Oh, great job on this. Somebody else responds to that response and is like, but this is the asshole who wrote about the walkthrough, blah, blah, blah. And then and now so I'm like at Jay Tomase on this whole conversation.
Right.
So then that person's like, what are you talking about? So the other
you
guy's
radicalized
like,
this guy?
yeah, so exactly by the end of the tweet,
He hated you.
the guy, he was like, fuck you, like at the end of it. So
Was there a part of you that said, maybe I'll just get out of Boston?
no.
No,
This is
never?
my home.
Right.
I'm not doing that. I'm not running,
But there's
know.
no part of you that said, maybe I'll just go
No.
fucking sell insurance or go
No.
be a teacher.
Nope.
You just
Nope.
knew we had to get through the fire.
I had to get through the fire. I mean, I'm glad social media didn't exist because I would have been
Well, that's the
fired.
other thing I was going to say.
Yeah.
Is you would have. It wouldn't. I'm not saying it would have been fair if Twitter
Oh,
was
I would have
around,
been
you would
fired.
gassed
I would have been fired in a
half
week
hour.
because this is what has always bothered me about social media. It's fake outrage, and every time I read a story
It's
about
also
anything,
it's also temporary outrage.
exactly. Anytime I read a story that says reaction on social media was swift, and you see it in the New York Times, you see it in the Washington Post. I'm like, that is meaningless.
Right.
That is like keyboard bravery. There is nothing. That is ephemeral. Like there is nothing to that whatsoever.
But what would have happened was you would have written that, and the pro Patriots crowd would have fucking galvanized, and
Yep.
and your bosses, as good people as I'm sure they are, would have had to fire you.
Yep.
They would have had no choice.
Oh yeah. No, believe me,
they-
I've thought about that. I mean, I got lucky.
you think
I
of
got lucky in that sense.
Do you think of it now, like when you have a story and you're about to break a story, or you have something? Do you still think of it every single time you're about to?
Oh my God, yeah. I wrote the beer in the clubhouse thing. Like
Right.
I broke that story for the Herald.
Right.
And
Were
you
you
better believe
petrified?
I was leaving. Well, no, because that one I had. I had no worries
right,
about that. But
right.
I left nothing to chance on
But you
that
can't
story.
be wrong again, right?
Nope, I can't be wrong at all. And sometimes it's annoying because you'll be tempted. Like the Schilling thing was a good example. Like I wrote that column about Schilling, and I made a bad choice of words. I said something like, Schilling has tweeted,
When he came
about.
up with us.
I don't know if it was before or after
Yeah.
he came. No. When I came on with you guys.
That's what I mean,
Yeah. I had said something like sexual orientation.
Right.
And like Schilling has been outspoken that he doesn't care about your sexual orientation.
doesn't. He
Yeah,
doesn't.
he doesn't care about that. So I was conflating the transsexual thing with orientation. So bad choice of words. So the temptation, believe me, was there to just go into that
Delete.
column and just change it, and no one would be the wiser.
Online, you can do that.
Because I can do that online, but I was like, you know what? I can't do that. So I had to put asterisk, correction. The original version of this story said this. And of course, like people online, there goes Tomase again fucking up. It's like, well, there's no journalist alive that's going to not make mistakes here and there. And so do you want me to own them, or do you want me to go online and erase them and pretend they didn't happen?
But unfortunately for you, you just have to eat it, right?
I have to eat it,
You got to
yeah.
eat shit on it. I mean, I
Yep.
guess that's just the way it's always going to be.
Yeah.
Did you think that?
But I should make clear,
Go ahead.
like, so in most jobs, I feel like you should not be judged on your worst day.
I agree.
In my job, you kind of have to be. So as much as I would like to say, geez, I've had a good career. I've written a lot of good stories.
Absolutely.
I understand and I accept. I don't love it, but I accept, like, this is what defines me.
Yeah.
Fair or not,
Well,
that's reality.
I could do this for 30 years and have a great career, and I'm doing pretty well right now. And they're going to say he's the guy who called Aaron Andrews a bitch.
No.
There's no doubt that's going to be one of the first, or said that Roger Goodell should
No
be
one's
killed.
going to remember that. They might remember that.
But these, absolutely, these things are always going to stick.
Yeah.
They're always going to stick. And you say, like you said, I've said them, like, I fucked up. You fuck up and you move. There's nothing you can do to correct the past.
And when I was covering the Pats, so early in that year, that 07 season, Spygate happens. And I did a story early in the thing because everyone was ripping Belichick. How was he handling it? This and that. And so I talked to like an image consultant, a crisis management person in New York.
Right.
And so they, I wrote a story. This is how a crisis management person would have Belichick deal with this, blah, blah, blah. So then my thing happens months later, and I write that mea culpa as best I could. And that crisis manager guy reached back out to me, and he said, that was good. Now never talk about it again.
Right.
Like, this is how, this is how these things work.
You don't talk about it a lot, right?
No. I mean,
do you say, you're on the radio, people must call and say it, no?
Once or twice.
Right.
It's not been that much. There was one guy when I was on with Dickerson who went at me for like 7 minutes.
Right.
But
that's okay once in a while.
Yeah.
People, because it's out there.
Yeah. No, and I bring it up from time to time.
When you first got hired, I talked to Rob about it, and I was pushing for it. I said, fucking absolutely, bring him in. But Rob was always like, yeah, you can't, don't talk. If you're on with John and Jerry, try not to bring it up.
Oh, no, I said to Rob, I'm like, you can't say that. Like, just bring it up. Like,
good, but I'm like, it exists. If you don't talk about it,
no.
it's worse than
because that makes us look fraudulent, too, because we're the ones who will go after anyone for anything.
Right.
So I did not want, and I've brought it up on the air from time to time. Like, Giardi and I were on last week talking about something. He was asking, what are your interactions like with people versus social media?
Right.
And I was like, listen, I've given people a reason to be legitimately pissed at me. Right. And I've never once had a Patriots fan say anything. I had people say shit to me about something I wrote about Manny like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But I have never once in person had anyone say, how could you do that? Now, social media is very different.
Way different.
But yeah.
And so you cover the Patriots the next season?
Yep. Whole season.
Brutal?
Weirdly enough, no. I thought it would be. So a couple things about that. So, one, I was neutered. Like, I felt like,
right.
I mean, I would look at my own byline, and I probably shouldn't admit this, but I would look at my own byline and say that you have no credibility to be ripping the Patriots.
Right.
Like, I used to be pretty pointed in my coverage of the Patriots. I mean, they were good when I covered them. Like, they were legitimately good, so there wasn't a lot of stuff to criticize, but I would be critical here and there. That 2008 season, like, it was down the middle. I might as well have been the beat guy again because I wasn't going to.
So you just wrote scared all year?
I wrote scared all year, which, what are you supposed to do? Like, so the other thing was I go in there the first day that I'm covering them. It was like a mini camp maybe after it's all finally shaken out. And, whatever. I was going to say Orrin Hatch, whoever the senator was from Pennsylvania who was. Specter. Arlen Specter had his say. The whole thing was finally done. So I go in. I have no idea how I'm going to be received, obviously. And so a little trepidatious, but I'm like, all right, got to do it. Like, got to show my face.
Talk at the Herald just saying, let's move this guy?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why in retrospect.
Very strange.
Yeah, I know. So I went back down there and I covered minicamp and I still have no idea. And so the practice ends, and out of respect to the player, I won't name him, but one of their most well-known players, respected player, as he's leaving the practice field, makes like a 260-degree turn, runs by me and gives me like the whack on the ass as he runs by, like sort of like hang in there kind of thing. Yeah. And I was like, all right, I think maybe I'm okay. I think I'm okay. Like, because it's like if that guy is doing that in front of the entire media and in front of all of his teammates, I must be okay. And I have to say, I gained so much respect for Belichick that year because he cannot think highly of me at all. Right. Like, and I don't blame him for that. He did not, like, he could have made my life hell. Sure. He could have, like, no players talk to me, no coaches talk to me. He could have shut me down every time I asked a question in a press conference. I don't know why, but he treated me completely professionally the entire year. Never had an issue at all. Never had an issue with a single player in there.
Did you have any interaction with the Crafts ever?
Oh God, not in years. Like,
no.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair to say if I were to die on the way out of the studio, I don't think there would be any tears shed in Brookline. But again, like if I were in their shoes, like I don't know if I would feel that differently.
So you left after that year? You left the beat?
I covered, my last story for the Herald.
So your last game was that Buffalo game?
Yeah, was that the last? Year? It was the Castle year.
Yeah, remember didn't they win the last game at Buffalo? Castle like punted, or am I making that game up?
I don't remember.
Yeah, but they went 11-5.
Anyway, so maybe that was Buffalo. I mean, so anyway, they went 11-5. They missed the playoffs. I went to spring training, so I went right from there to the ALCS. Like I started covering that because it was 2008.
Right.
Wait, that's the fall. How did that work?
That would make sense because it was December or January.
Yeah. So spring training. So I did go to the ALCS. I did sort of both.
Yeah.
But the fall, the spring training, I went down and Vince Wilfork had a charity softball tournament.
Yeah.
And so I went down there and I got Wilfork on his contract, which at the time was like a big deal.
Right.
And I got the only interview Randy Moss did the entire offseason. And that was a big deal, too, because people were wondering, like, what did his future hold and this and that.
Right.
So I felt good about it. Like, at least I left the Patriots beat having done good work. Like, listen, I'm never gonna change what happened.
Right.
There's no changing that. But at least I could say that I left that beat, doing good work.
Could you go, if Rob said, listen, I want you to do games this year at Gillette, would you go do it?
Yeah, I'd go wherever he sent me.
I know,
Absolutely.
but would you say to him, like, no? I mean, not no, but would you say?
No, I would go. I mean, yeah, I'd go. Yeah.
And you'd be all right with it, yeah?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like having Sundays to watch them at home on TV, but
well, so that's the other thing. It's not like you're really missing out on it. I mean,
No.
you can almost write a column as well from home is from there. I feel the player access is nothing.
yeah, it's still
game day?
it's different to be there. It's definitely different to be there. You get a different feel for things, and even just being in the locker room afterwards, it's different to hear the quotes and look the guy in the eye as he says them, as opposed to reading like the long transcript.
I think most player
quote
quotes
sheets.
suck though.
They do suck,
I mean,
but
how
I'm
much-
just saying,
I
like
know,
being down there does make a
How
difference.
many players, when you talk to at the Red Sox, how many would you say are like actually, thoughtful, enlightened, interesting quotes on that team?
Right now, I would say Ortiz can be quite a bit. I think Price can be.
Yeah.
I'm trying to go through
That's what I'm
the
saying.
roster.
I mean,
Yeah.
right.
No, but I mean, the thing with that is being there and having relationships with people allows you to write stuff even if the quotes suck, So
Right. So we'll circle back to the start. There's no part of you that gets up and is like, are you working tonight?
yeah, I'll be at Fenway.
Is there any party that's dreading putting in like 9 hours on this regular season game on June 15th? Like, what's the fucking point?
Yeah, I wouldn't go that far because that's kind of nihilistic, but
Well, that's the way I think.
yeah.
That's my attitude, generally.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's certainly a part like, okay, it's a grind for us too.
Right.
I don't travel like I used to. At the Herald, I traveled 100 nights a year.
Ugh.
Rob does the majority of the travel now,
Right.
so I'm
You don't want
picking
to,
my
right?
spots. I don't mind. I like doing some.
Some.
Yeah.
Oh, so
I don't need to do what I did in
you
the
do
past.
like 30 games a year?
30 would be good.
That's about right.
Yeah. But I don't think I even do that now.
No.
Once you take, I mean, spring training, I do three or 4 weeks of that. But if you do actual games, like so far road games this year, I think I've done a series in New York. I've done a series in Kansas City. I'm forgetting one. I'm going to Seattle next month. But yeah, there's not. It's not like it was.
The thing I like about the beat writers and all the sports, and I don't spend much time with them. I spend a week with them down in spring training, and I'll check in every once in a while with them. Is that they're as fucking petty and gossipy as we are during a commercial break on the station.
Oh yeah, worse.
And they seem
just
like
as bad.
It seems like there's cliques too, and there's a couple of guys everybody hates. There seems to be that thing.
I talk about like sometimes I feel like we can be a bunch of Heathers.
Oh, there's no question.
Yeah.
But there's somebody on the outside, right? There's somebody. Why is there such a? There doesn't seem to be that cynicism when I read you guys, though.
Yeah.
Your column is different.
Yeah.
But the beat writers can be like Rob can be a cynical, angry, fucking asshole, and I mean that in a great way. I wouldn't be friends with him if he wasn't.
Yeah.
But he goes on the radio and he writes, and he's not that guy. Ian Brown is a snarky fucking guy.
Yeah.
I don't read that. Why not?
Well, I mean, I don't know what you want me to say to that. I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
Where is that cynicism?
I think it's like any workplace environment, though. There are people who
I
will
guess ours
like
is
bitch
different,
about.
obviously.
Yeah, I mean, you can do it on. It's your job to do
Right.
it on the air to bring it on the
Although
air.
I would say there's people in this business who are the same way.
Yeah.
They're assholes, and then they go in there and they pretend it's sunshine and
Yeah.
people pissing champagne.
Yeah.
I just wonder sometimes. I find that the beat writers of the Red Sox, go to spring training, I'll pop my head in when you guys are working there, and it's a miserable bunch of fucks. But I mean that in a good way. Like I want to.
Well, you know what? I mean, here's to answer your question seriously. So part of it is if you are going to be the guy who's angry and cynical in your writing towards the team that you're covering, it makes it harder to cover the team. Like, so a lot of guys will shy away from that kind of confrontation for that reason.
Think they're afraid of it?
Yeah.
Just fear.
Yeah, or it's just like
Like
it's sort of, but you know what? It goes back.
life?
It goes back to like what you were saying about the social media, like the circle. If you have 15
question.
people who are telling you how great you are,
Right.
you want them to keep the horde at bay, who will tell you that you suck. And so it becomes easy when you have this instant feedback. I think any writer who claims that they pay no attention to it is
Bullshit.
lying.
It's like any host.
Yeah.
Bullshit.
So it's sometimes it is hard, and there are times where even like, you know, the gun thing, not that I really gave a shit, but there was a part of me that was like, oh, I'm going to get crap from like NRA people. Right. You know, and that thought enters your mind. And so when you're covering a team, especially if you're younger, you might take a path of less resistance. So you're not like, why ruffle feathers when you can just get along?
Isn't the most important thing to be read, though?
Yeah, I think so.
Isn't that number one?
Yeah.
Isn't that the number one rule?
Yeah.
But I feel like a lot of guys are violating that. They'd rather write something that gets pats on the back.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
You know, when is that? We're getting back to the beginning, but I feel like that's 10 or 15 years from now. I think we're fucked. I mean, I just unless they get older and more cynical and say fuck it, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you could say there's the Barstool and the Deadspin sort of
but Barstool
class as well.
That's
you know,
true,
so maybe that's where you get that stuff.
I guess.
You know.
Yeah. All right, I'll let you go. You gave me enough for your time, and now you want to get out of here. So we've learned that you don't want to do the radio every day. You don't like the radio.
I don't want to do it every day.
Do you like doing TV when you go on Comcast? It's so easy.
Yeah, it's
fucking stealing money.
I
mean, is that not stealing
when
money?
are you going back?
Never. They don't want me back. Think about it from Comcast perspective, right? So they put me on, and I think the show's a little better when I'm on with, like, say, Gary. We have more fun together. You know, it's a better chemistry. But they look at it and say, okay, we bring this dickhead on once a week or twice a week. The show's, 12% better. Yeah. The ratings aren't any different. Nobody knows when they're on, so it makes no difference that way. There's no advertiser difference. And there's always a chance that he's either going to say something or somebody's going to try and fuck him over, and we're going to be in this mushroom cloud again. Yeah. So I think for them, they say, is it really worth the risk for minimal reward? Like, radio is different. Like, I come on, there's a tangible ratings difference. I bring in X amount of dollars. If I leave the show, it suffers. So I get that. I get why they have to keep me around the radio. But TV, they say, fuck it. Yeah. You know, you've been on that show. It's just these shows, they don't.
Yeah, I was on last night.
Yeah, they just roll you in and you do your 7 minutes and you just you make a little noise and then you get the fuck out of there, right? Like, it's the easiest gig of all time. How easy is TV?
I treat it with the utmost respect and professionalism.
But okay, like what time you were on the 10 o'clock class?
Well, no, 6 o'clock. So last night they had me come in and do like a 2-minute thing at the top of the 6 o'clock show, and then stick around to do
10 o'clock?
to do 6:30. No,
that's not so bad.
So I went on at 6, but it's not so bad. But there's a part of me that was like, oh, I got to do 2 different shows at once.
Are they paying you for both of them?
That is a good question.
Oh, you don't do that. Don't fall into that trap.
Yeah.
But okay, but that's different last night. But if you know you're doing a fucking B block, at 6:30, you can get there at
6:37,
6:32, and you'll be back in your car at 6:51. Yeah, and there's nobody. You can go on,
and I live 14 minutes away.
Right,
so.
I live in Lexington. I live 6 minutes away. You could go on and be whatever. You can Sporty McKenzie it up for 6 minutes and pretend to be outraged about something. Get in your car. Boom, you're done. It's like it never happened. Nobody tweets you about it, right? Nobody ever tweets you about being on TV.
Not very rarely.
Very rarely.
Yeah. Only if Comcast tweets something with something inflammatory or whatever.
I always think one of these days Comcast is going to wake up and say, why are we paying these people to do this? We can just pay somebody half as much or a quarter as much.
That's enough. But that's enough of that.
That is going to happen. Well, if I'm not going to be on, I don't want anybody to get paid. I don't want anybody to get paid.
I didn't think that gravy train would still be rolling, and here we are, like 15 years later.
Well, you know what it comes down to ultimately, and the few times I've talked to Comcast people recently, the 6 o'clock show is a straight news show, and I feel like that show is antiquated. It's just over. Nobody puts on TV at 6:26 to see local television sports news anymore. The 6:30 show and the 10 o'clock show, people still like to flip around and see faces they know, people they know, argue about shit. They just do. It's the Skip Bayless syndrome. People like opinion. The other stuff is boring.
Yeah, and
so if you have an opinion like you have some thoughts, and you can put together 4 or 5 sentences in a row, there's always going to be a spot for that. Yeah. Don't you think?
Oh, yeah, I agree. But also, like, whatever they pay us, it's still a drop in the bucket for NBC,
right, billions and billions of dollars. But I do wonder if there's going to be a bean counter in there one day who's going to do that. I mean, at some point, newspapers realize, okay, we don't need to send 2 people to Winnipeg on a Saturday night. We don't need to send people to the Celtics Timberwolves game in January. There's no money for it.
Yeah, hasn't happened yet, but
it has a little bit.
That's some of the smaller papers. Yeah,
even the Globe will not, like the Globe this week. I don't think Michael Whitmer's gone now. I think, right? Yeah, but they're not going to. Sometimes they're not going to send somebody to cover the British Open. They're not going to cover. They used to cover 3 people for a fucking Hagler fight. Yeah, he was local. That I think they've started to figure that out, which sucks for you and sucks for me who likes it, but it also makes business sense, right? Yeah. You know, is the Herald doing that? Does the Herald send?
I don't know. The Herald Borges does a lot of their golf stuff, so I don't know if I don't remember if he's typically gone to the British.
I don't like Borges when he's not writing football. I'll be honest.
I mean, football is clearly his
when
wheelhouse.
Ron's writing baseball, when he goes down, I know he probably gets a week to spend down in Florida. It's probably part of his,
He did good stuff down there
I know,
this year.
but it doesn't feel.
I mean,
right.
he's got that perception. Oh, you're a football guy.
Right.
So there's like the natural thing where if you don't read him all the time, then you
Yeah.
might say, oh, this isn't football. But I think he brings it on everything.
How much longer do you think?
I'm a big Borges guy.
I know you love Borges.
Yeah.
Is he was he your guy?
He was my guy growing up. Yeah, I mean, I read.
But when you started working there, he was.
When I started covering the Pats, I went to for the Herald. I'd only been on the beat a few months. I went to the owners' meetings. I didn't know anybody.
Yeah.
I knew nobody.
Right.
And Borges, we were the two guys there. I'm like, oh my God, I got to compete against this guy.
Right.
He pulls me over and talks to me for like 2 hours, gives me the lay of the land, tells me who everybody is. Like, because he's not threatened by me. Who am I? He's Ron Borges.
Yeah, but he could still be an asshole.
He
though.
could have been an
Right.
asshole, but he wasn't. So
But don't you find that the guys who everyone think like I've had problems with Shaughnessy, but like he's not an asshole.
No.
Like,
Shaughnessy's good people. Like, nobody wants to hear this. Borges and Shaughnessy are good people.
Are good. Like they treat you I had the same experience. When I first started doing this, they didn't treat me. They could have been fucking assholes.
Yeah.
But they're not. I mean, some guys are, but they weren't like that.
When I was in college, my roommate and I made this like fantasy baseball publication that we sold in the classified ads in Baseball Weekly.
Yeah.
This is in like 1992.
Right.
And we sent it off to everyone under the sun, like trying to get feedback or whatever. And Bob Costas wrote us like a little postcard.
Yeah.
And I don't know who else responded, but Shaughnessy called us in our dorm room and like took the time to call. I was a nobody,
Right.
and like gave us some thoughtful like criticism or whatever. And, oh, maybe you should try advertising here or there. But he actually like gave it. He didn't have to do that.
Do you feel like you're old enough now and you've been around now that you can talk to younger guys about shit like that or no?
Yeah, definitely.
And do you?
Oh, yeah, all the time. I had, there was there have been incidences in the past where a younger writer will call and say, hey, manager, GM, somebody's pissed at what I wrote. How should I handle this? And I'm like, God, I remember having this conversation with Shaughnessy, and now like I'm the one giving out advice.
And you do it a lot.
I hate getting old.
Yeah. It's all right.
Here and there. It doesn't happen a lot.
Yeah,
but
it should. I think the younger guys should be more inquisitive. They should ask more questions.
Yeah, they suck.
Fucking these young guys suck. They're total assholes.
Yeah, we
But
weren't.
you're
We weren't assholes.
But I've never been an asshole. But you're one of these guys like within the writers. Like you're in the accepted circle. Like you're in that Twitter circle. Like everybody likes you among the writers.
Yeah,
you're like
I'm a nice guy.
A nice guy. I know you recognize as a nice guy.
Yeah,
but you're actually a nice guy. Like there are nice guys who are assholes. But I actually think we don't know each other that well. But I think you're a nice guy.
I try. I mean. Or I don't try. I just am who I am. Sometimes when I read all like the Twitter hatred, it's like people don't actually know me at all. But
well, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter.
I know.
All right, I'll let you go. Get out of here.
All right.
Thanks, John. All right, thanks as always for listening to the Enough About Me podcast. If you want more podcasts like this with guests like Artie Lang, who else can have Artie Lang and fucking Bob Ryan on the same podcast, or David Portnoy and John Tomase? If you want to listen to podcasts like this, you go to iTunes, Stitcher, you can go to WEI.com, you can go to the mobile app. When you go to iTunes, leave a rating, leave a review, and subscribe. That's going to help us out a lot. If you want more of these, leave a rating, leave a review, and subscribe. Make sure you do that for me. That is a command. Now do it.
You know that off-site location for data storage and retrieval they call the cloud? It's a pretty apt name when you think about it. Ask this guy.
I'm Mike Osgood, Director of Business Development at Ronnie DeMeo Construction.
A cloud in the sky is not solid, not stable. Same could be said for Mike's experience with the data cloud.
They weren't able to house some of our software.
Like a sky cloud, a data cloud can just dry up and disappear.
Within about 3 months, we lost mass amounts of data. There was about 12 weeks of entries that we lost.
The data cloud can really rain on your parade.
Something that would take normally about 20 minutes to process took about 3 hours.
Mike's company decided to bring their business data back down to earth and out of the rain.
Tab set us up with a local server once we determined that the cloud was not suitable.
Store, control, and protect your data locally cost-effectively with help from Tab Computer Systems. Call 1-888-TAB, the numeral 4, HELP, 1-888-TAB-4-HELP, or at tabinc.com. Technologies advancing business. Tab Computer Systems.